Welcome. I thank you for joining me. And I invite you to get comfortable, if you are not already so, whether you're sitting down or lying down. Becoming conscious of your body and where it is in contact with the floor, chair, the earth, and what is connecting you to the earth. And what is between you and the earth. Becoming a little more conscious of your breath in this moment. And you can only be conscious of your breath in this moment because the breath does not happen in the past or the future. It is only ever in the present moment. Letting your breath guide you and connecting you in this moment to your body, allowing it to take you wherever it wishes or feels that your attention is required in some way, whether it's simply just awareness or observation, just noticing. Noticing the pace and quality of your breath without steering it. As it guides you. Simply giving it your conscious attention as you follow it. And its pace. As it guides you through your body, from the top of your head, traveling in its and your own pace through your entire body all the way down. To your feet and your toes. And perhaps with each breath, noticing a potential shift in the pace and quality of your breathing. The ins and the outs. The level of tension giving way perhaps to a sense of relaxation through the act of attending perhaps a slowing down. And becoming aware of your connection with the earth, and the earth in particular. So knowing that you are fully connected with her, and that she is holding you and grounding you. As you sense a little more consciously in this moment into her and her magnificent being. Her life force, which holds and nurtures you and everyone else connected to you, and unknown and not consciously connected to you, holding all sentient and non-sentient beings. This planet, suspended in the orbit around the sun in our galaxy and universe. So tiny from this perspective, and yet so great from our perspective as one of her many, many inhabitants. With all her incredible resources and sources. Sensing into her magnificence, her strength, her ability to balance things out, her creativity in doing so, constantly adjusting to new realities, in constant change and transformation. The fragility and the resilience in one. A miracle when we take a moment to be fully conscious of all that she is, and all that she was, all that she has ever held, and how she has evolved. And everything that has evolved with her, including our own species. Only one of. Uncountable. Specimens of life. Perhaps with a sense of reverence and awe, wonder, gratitude, love. For this earth we call home. Taking our attention to our heart energy center as we maintain this more conscious connection with her, with our planet, and breathe in and out from our heart, perhaps with a sense of expansion, grounded, rooted at the same time. As we become aware of a higher consciousness, all-encompassing, as we reach and sense into the dimensions invisible to our human eyes, without needing to label or name. This space. Allowing ourselves to become aware of what exists beyond our daily reality, which we can get so absorbed in and with. Sensing into this space where there is a higher frequency without our needing to define it or understand it, just knowing that it's there without requiring it to be a certain way, inviting and surrendering at the same time. Opening our hearts, our minds, are channels ready to receive, ready to perceive. Letting whatever is to be. What is. Simply allowing, relaxing, as if there is an expansion which words cannot describe. Relaxing into this space, without needing anything in particular to happen, to be, without needing to understand. Without needing to feel a certain way. Accepting what is in this very moment. Perhaps with a sense of increasing peace. Perhaps not. And slowly, whilst retaining this sense, whatever is, becoming conscious of the connection with your heart, energy center, your being, the entirety and wholeness of you, and the seemingly fluid connection with both above and below, so that there might be a sense of wholeness where lines and boundaries have dissipated, faded. So that there's a sense of oneness. Where there is no separation but pure connection in its purest forms. A knowing, a sensing of consciousness in such a way that words cannot really describe. Let's take a moment in silence and invite whatever message may wish to be delivered to come through. If that is the intention of those with us. Perhaps there's a slight pressure pulsing around the third eye. Just noticing as we receive. We welcome you, dear ones. Sometimes you wish to see what you cannot see with your human eyes. It is like asking where those dreams take place when you wake up at the cusp of the morning, catching the tail of that elusive dream, knowing you were there, but unable to provide evidence and proof that you have seen and experienced something. And sometimes when you are able to catch the tail of that dream, it's like a thread you pull. And if you're quick enough, you get to the actual fabric and can see the shape and form and colors of the garment from which the thread has come loose. And you're able to then describe the actual garment, perhaps in part only, or even in its entirety, and perhaps even understand the purpose of the garment. Sometimes you're unable to catch the thread in time, and the garment disappears into the nothingness as if it had never existed. And yet you know that it did. You just cannot remember even the slightest detail, for it has slipped through your fingers, so to speak. It is, as with many things, the more you practice and look for signs, small signs which allow you small practices, and you follow these consistently, it will become easier, and you will be able to follow the thread and catch it more and more often. It does indeed help to create the conditions which make it easier to do so, so that you're not needing to force or try too hard. It is in your own court, as you say, to create or nurture the conditions which are conducive to catching your dreams. Conditions are not always in your control or under your influence, but more often than not, you're very much in a position to be able to if not influence, certainly guide or be guided towards making these more favorable if you become, first of all, aware, and secondly, make certain choices. Awareness is incredibly underrated. Particularly when you have become so accustomed to routines that you no longer question but assume so completely and call it normal. Whereas you are being offered ample opportunities in meeting people who challenge you and indeed trigger you because they see the world differently from you. Not only in larger and philosophical ways, shall we say, but even in those who you care for and feel connected to, their ways of doing things and their habits may seem so contrary to yours that they irritate you simply because they're different and you consider the way you do things, if not the right way, the normal way, which is true for you. This source of difference has been the source of the smallest and the largest conflicts. It is a very different source of conflict than that which you witness in the animal kingdom. Where it is, one could say, a whole lot simpler. Your unconscious, or let's say lack of awareness, leads to expectations which then are not met or fulfilled. And the form of expectations are countless. Whether it is a certain language, way of communication, or simply even a handshake. You could put it down to everything becoming either a match or a mismatch. And both, indeed, can be a source of irritation. It is rather interesting, if not sad, that it is so much easier to identify sources of irritation and frustration and notice these more than the sources of joy. And you will find joy not only when you think your expectations are met, for that is temporal, but sources of joy are simply in the very being and presence where there are no expectations. Where things simply are and are being delighted in without them having to be a certain way. if you consider it, when someone, be it a child or an adult, does something which fulfills an expectation you have or exceeds it, is it happiness or joy that you are feeling? Compare this to moments where you simply observe and delight in that person being in a joyful state, or observing something in nature, for example, and its beauty, its very presence. The joy is in the observation in that moment, in the attention that you give. It is not an act of the mind. It is not a wanting or a striving. It is as banal and as cliché as it sounds, the sheer being, and in the choice to attend and be aware and conscious. It is our invitation for you to be aware of all this. With as much attention as you can, as this will shift the core of your being. And so that the new habit and way of being shifts towards that of joy, so that it becomes more and more natural and normal for you to be giving your attention to the aspects of being instead of sources of irritation and you will notice that this idea of expectation will begin to take on a lesser sense of importance, whereas your sense of acceptance will only increase. And with acceptance comes peace and contentedness and true fulfillment. We are not suggesting that you do nothing to change and accept everything as it is, even if conditions are not good. We would encourage you to revisit our words and shall retreat. For now, it has been our joy to be with you again in this moment and remind you that you are held in and with love, dear ones, independent of who you are, where you are. Your experience and whatever you have or have not done or achieved or fulfilled. There is much to come to those who pay attention to awareness and its gifts. I invite us to become aware of our physical body, our breath, in this present moment. Slowly coming back to the present moment and wherever we are, whether we're sitting down or lying down, giving attention to our body, noticing from the top of our heads to the bottom of our feet, just taking our time in our own pace. Knowing that everything we have experienced and heard is registered and integrating in our systems, not only now but also after we close. As it has entered our consciousness, I invite you to stretch, do whatever feels good for you to slowly come back to the present moment, whether you're sitting down or lying down, taking your time. Whatever feels good or right for you. Opening eyes when you feel like it's right for you. And perhaps you want to continue sitting or lying down for a while before you go about gently with the rest of your day or evening or night. Allowing the words to sink in further and accompany you in your way forward. Thank you for tuning in, for listening, for joining me. Take good care and much love.